It began with a gate. Not just any gate, a sturdy, black, ranch-style steel gate with a clean design and a custom horse silhouette welded into the center. To me, it was a simple improvement to my property, a matter of taste and security. I had recently retired from 22 years of service, and now I wanted a piece of peace. My house sat at the edge of the neighborhood, one of the few homes with a long enough driveway to justify a gate. I had it installed by professionals, checked the city codes, and made sure it was fully within my property line. To me, it was perfect. I didn't think anyone would mind. Most of my neighbors were quiet, friendly types who waved but didn't meddle. But of course, I forgot about the HOA, and more specifically, its self-appointed queen, Ellen Cartwright. Ellen had been president of the HOA for as long as anyone could remember. She ran the board like it was the White House, and the HOA meetings like a courtroom drama. Everything had to be submitted, reviewed, stamped, and blessed by her personal sense of taste. She once fined a neighbor for having a mailbox that clashed with the rest of the street. So I guess it shouldn't have surprised me when, not 24 hours after the gate was installed, I heard the familiar hum of her beige Lexus SUV rolling up my gravel driveway. She parked crookedly, halfway blocking the sidewalk, and climbed out with her sunglasses tilted down like she was a cop walking up to a suspect's door. I stepped outside with a coffee in hand, figuring I'd hear her out. Maybe she just wanted to ask about the installation company or something minor. I was wrong. She marched up to the gate, gave it a disapproving once-over, and spun on her heel to face me. "You can't just erect structures without board approval, Mr. Collins," she barked, clipboard already in hand. "Good morning to you too," I replied. "This," she said, gesturing to the gate as though it were a crime scene, "is a clear violation of the HOA's architectural guidelines. There's a process for these things." I read the guidelines, I said calmly. "This is under the height limit, doesn't obstruct any sidewalks or common areas, and it's not painted neon green or anything. It's a private gate on private land." She flipped through some printed papers, like she was about to quote scripture. "No exterior modifications may be made to the front of a property without prior written approval from the Architectural Review Board." I sipped my coffee. "So you're the whole board now?" Her jaw tightened. "The gate must be removed. Immediately." I leaned against the post, deliberately casual. "That's not gonna happen." Her face flushed with a shade somewhere between rage and indignation. She wasn't used to people telling her no, certainly not calmly and directly. She scribbled something on her clipboard, tore the paper out, and handed it to me like it was a traffic ticket. "You'll be fined $75 per day starting tomorrow until this gate is taken down." "Thanks," I said, folding the paper without looking at it. "I'll be sure to use it as a coaster." That did it. She stared at me for a long moment like she wanted to say more, but instead turned and stormed off to her car. Gravel kicked up as she peeled out of the driveway, barking something into her phone. I watched her go and shook my head. I dealt with more intimidating people in the Middle East, and they at least wore uniforms. Ellen Cartwright was clearly gearing up for war, and I had no idea how far she'd go. But I wasn't the same man I was before retirement. I wasn't looking for a fight, but I wouldn't run from one either, especially not over a gate. Little did I know the next time she came back, she'd be bringing backup. 2 days after the gate confrontation, I was pulling into my driveway when I spotted a police cruiser parked right in front of my gate, lights off but engine running. The sudden presence of law enforcement caught me off guard, especially since I hadn't called anyone. A few HOA board members stood nearby, arms crossed and whispering among themselves, wearing that familiar mix of self-importance and smugness. And right in the middle of them all was Ellen Cartwright, the HOA president, looking more determined than ever, though now with a hint of hesitation in her eyes. I stepped out of my truck, setting down my keys on the hood as I tried to read the room. The officers didn't immediately get out, but after a moment, one of them, a tall man with a calm demeanor and sharp eyes, stepped forward toward me. He was wearing the typical blue uniform, but there was something about his stance, an easy confidence that told me he wasn't just another beat cop. "Sir," he began, eyes scanning me up and down. "Are you Commander Collins? Former U.S. Army?" I blinked, a little surprised. "Yes, that's me." He smiled, then gave a quick salute that was crisp and respectful. "Thank you for your service. I'm Officer Martinez." He extended his hand, which I shook firmly. "We actually served under the same division years ago, 1st Cavalry. Small world." That moment changed everything. The atmosphere shifted. Ellen's lips pressed tighter, her confidence wavering, as she realized she was no longer the undisputed authority in this situation. Officer Martinez turned back to her and said with a calm but firm tone, "Ma'am, unless this gate is posing a public safety hazard or clearly violates a city code, this matter is civil, not criminal. We're here to ensure public safety, not to enforce HOA rules." Ellen's face flushed as she stammered, "But it's against the HOA's architectural guidelines. We have the right to enforce those." "Certainly," Officer Martinez replied, "but we're not the HOA's enforcement officers. Our jurisdiction doesn't cover private property disputes, unless there's a legal violation. And frankly, from what I see, this gate seems well within city code." I nodded silently, feeling a sense of relief and quiet satisfaction. Then, Officer Martinez turned back to me, his voice lowering slightly in a gesture of camaraderie. "Commander, I appreciate your dedication, both to your country and your community. This gate, I'd say you've earned it." That single line sent a ripple through the crowd. I could see some neighbors watching cautiously from behind their curtains, likely following the drama unfold. The HOA board members exchanged uneasy glances. Ellen, now clearly rattled, attempted to regain control. "This is a matter of neighborhood standards and respect, officer. We don't want this escalating." The officer nodded respectfully but didn't budge. "I understand. But unless there's a violation of law, we cannot act on HOA disputes. It's between the homeowner and the association." The board members murmured among themselves, and Ellen finally gave a curt nod. Without another word, she stormed back to her SUV, slamming the door with audible force. The officers exchanged a quick look before getting back into their cruiser, the engine rumbling as they pulled away. I stood there for a moment, the gate looming behind me like a small fortress. For the first time since I installed it, I felt like I had the upper hand. The cops had not only declined to take action against me, but had acknowledged my service and, in a subtle way, my right to defend my property. After the police left, a few neighbors cautiously emerged from their homes, offering quiet congratulations. Some gave thumbs-up signs or whispered their support. It was clear Ellen's reign as the neighborhood dictator was being quietly questioned. That day marked a turning point, not just in the gate dispute, but in the neighborhood's unspoken power dynamics. Ellen had lost her unchallenged authority, and the residents were starting to see me as more than just the guy with the fancy gate. What I didn't know then was that this incident was just the beginning of a much bigger battle, one that would test my patience, resilience, and yes, my military training in ways I hadn't expected. But for that moment, standing by my gate, with Officer Martinez's words still ringing in my ears, I felt something rare: vindication.